Good evening, students. Welcome to this day 3 for chapter 3. So, our first logger is Jash today. Dhanesh, Jyoti, Pritika, Lakshmi, Khushi, Chakshu, Manoj, Harini, Alok, Parthasarthi, Shankaran, Sushil, Tanisha. So, good evening to all. Now, okay. So let us start where we left last time. I just went through that XBRL taxonomy. So there's a lot of content available, the screens, the shots, but those are third-party content which probably we cannot directly display. So I'll request Hujema just search for XBRL taxonomy. We'll get a lot of data. Our institute also have some information on that. Okay, so let us continue where we left yesterday. Day before, yeah. So security management controls. Here we were. Now, when you talk of security management control, the idea is the security of the whole entity per se. So that includes disaster recovery plan and insurance. So disaster recovery plan in case of disaster, in case of an uneven or a huge catastrophe like an event, which say huge fire, flooding, for generally you refer to them as environmental factors. So for those you need to have disaster recovery plan. So the idea is that if your main data, main location is hit by a disaster, you must have a secondary location where you can go and work so that the business continuity is maintained. You need to have proper backup built into system so that you can start when you plan for it. So that is security management control. Then insurance. Insurance is about there is a loss. You have lost asset, you have lost data, you have lost information. So you want payment to be generated, payment to be made against that. So you take an insurance policy. You may have a property insurance, you may have data insurance. So there is something called as machine breakdown insurance, loss of profits due to machine breakdown, loss of profits due to fire. So all these types of insurance are there, which an entity must have. Just a question means if you look to the header of this slide, what suppose I say security management controls. I want you to tell me whether they are preventive, detective, or corrective. So just put it in the chat. The header of the slide, security management control, is preventive, detective, or corrective. Then operations management control. So the whole computer center where these operations are being done. So you need proper controls for them. So proper computer operations, network operation, proper data preparation entry, production control, the way conversion of data is being done, file library, all locations where it is stored, documentation and program library, help technical support, capacity planning, performance monitoring, and management of outsourced operation. Now, please understand, each of this is critical. I'm taking, say, management of outsourced operations. So your SA 402, client using service organization, that we all have read, SA 402, or probably you'll be reading. So it basically talks about outsourcing as a way of doing business. So if your lot of activities have been outsourced, then auditor is considered, auditor takes into account the activities which have been outsourced. Then capacity planning, performance monitoring, we have taken more than one examples. I talked about cash payment voucher with 3 digits. Then we talked of our own membership number that I shared with you. We have presently 6-digit membership number, but over a period of time, probably members may grow. Student and members in totality is more than 10 lakh. So it's 7 digits. So how you plan for capacity, all those things. So this is operation management control. Then, so the previous slide is basically corrective in nature. The options given is corrective in nature. Yeah. Then quality assurance and management control. Quality per se is information produced by information system should achieve the goals for that information. So that is a quality aspect for information and proper development implementation of systems. So these relate to the quality aspects of information that is produced through information system. Then application control, this is an important topic. Two basic parameters have been brought in application control. Now, please understand, when you say application control, we are looking for, say, the best thing you can remember is in terms of Tally is an application. So controls for Tally, the way it is operating. So you have two categories of controls, accounting audit trails and operations audit trail. Let us see. Then we'll be talking about the category of control. So first, let us look for accounting audit trail and operations audit trail. We'll be referring to the module for this. Yeah, just give me a second. In fact, just I am bringing something. Yeah, if you go to page number 3.44 of the module, all this has been summarized very well. So this page you can use as a as a revision page for your examination. So all controls have been summarized on a single page. Okay. So accounting audit trail to maintain records of events within the subsystem, and operations audit trail is to maintain a record of attempted or actual resource consumption associated with each event in subsystems. So accounting audit trail is just keeping a record of what exactly is going and what actions are being performed is operations audit trail. Now taking the application controls in detail. So let us first just read the slides for the name of the controls and then we'll go to so application controls includes boundary control, input, communication, process, database, output. These controls are part of application control. Let me define and then we'll go to the module to read them. So boundary controls are those controls which relate to allowing entry to user in system. Then input controls which ensure valid inputs are made to system. Communication controls are the communication channels they need to perform properly. Processing controls relate to when the data that is input in system is being processed to create information or value addition. So the controls which work at the processing aspect, those are process controls. Then database controls, data is kept preserved. So controls which are used at database level, those are database controls and output controls. Let us take them from the module. Output controls to keep tag of the accuracy, validity, and distribution of output. Those nature of controls are output controls. Okay. So we are taking first boundary controls. Within boundary control, first topic is cryptographic control. So cryptographic is basically creating what you may call as ensuring privacy of data. So this you can do through creating ciphertext. Just remember this word. You can create this through ciphertext. So there are ways of doing it. There was a word that came in the previous last discussion previous year we had that talked about public and private keys. So that is basically how you create a ciphertext. Okay. Then in this there could be errors. So I'm just bringing this. This could be part of your exam. So I'm just bringing this. A cryptographic technique transforms data into cryptograms known as ciphertext, and its strength depends on time and cost to decipher the ciphertext. So the way this coding is done, the technology used for coding, so all this is basically called as cryptographic controls. So they are very high-end softwares which do these cryptographic controls, the product keys, how they are created. Then you can remember these names, techniques, transposition, substitution, product ciphers. So lot of data is there for these cryptographic controls. The next category of control is access control. That is part of boundary control. Access control means allowing a person to access system. That includes user identification, authentication mechanism, and authorization. So how user identify himself or herself to system, like through password, through token, through biometric. What is the authentication mechanism? How the authentication is done of the user, and authorization is what action he or she can do in system. That is. Then next category of boundary control can be PIN numbers. I think we all know about PIN numbers. We may recall that it is form of a renumbered information used to authenticate users. PIN is a password assigned to user by an institution. It could be a random number generated. So PIN number is also boundary control. Boundary control, just remember the category of control, those controls which allow you to enter into system. So though, like when you insert your debit card, credit card in an ATM, so you have to give the PIN number. So those numbers are PIN numbers. Yeah, cryptographic are preventive, Dhyanesh. Audit trail. Manoj says audit trail is mandatory. Okay, I'll come to the queries. Let us complete this part. Then digital signatures. Now, your Information Technology Act Section 3 and Section 3A. So Section 3 talks about digital signatures and Section 3A talks about electronic signatures. So this digital signatures is part of law that is prevalent, part of discussion we did have in the previous chapter, and probably you'll be reading Information Technology Act at some different location also. So digital signatures, signing a document in such form that they cannot, it's basically a methodology of creating what we call as encryption. So this digital signatures now has a legal definition to it. Then plastic cards and audit trail controls, that is part of boundary control. So whenever you read audit trail control, just see the two aspects of audit trail control for each of the controls. Now we are reading for boundary controls. So accounting audit trail and operations audit trail. All material application oriented events occurring within the boundary subsystem should be recorded. That may include data related to identity of the user. So how user has identified himself or herself is part of accounting audit trail, and the login, logout, and what action user did, that becomes part of the operations audit trail. Okay. So that is boundary control. Before we go to input, there are one or two queries. Let me, okay, Varsha, that was corrective. Okay. Security management. Then, cryptographic controls are preventive, Dhyanesh. Yes. Audit trail, I told you in previous discussion, just keep a note of that word audit trail. Wherever you find that word audit trail in your module, accounts, audit, then EIS, like we are discussing, just note where the references have come from, because this aspect, what Manoj has brought, government issued a notification on regarding mandating that all companies, incorporated entities need to have an accounting software which has non-editable audit trail. Non-editable audit trail means whatever information is recorded in audit trail that cannot be deleted, changed. So that is why this audit trail has become very important. Chip, debit card, access ATM, yes. So that is again a preventive control. Cryptographic are preventive. Okay, great. Now let us take the next word, input control. Data that is presented to an application as input data must be validated for authorization. So these are the categories of input controls: data coding controls, batch controls, validation of data input controls, and audit trail controls. Data coding. So what I'll do, I'll just bring this data coding through an examples for a better understanding. So you can always understand that. And it's good to remember also, because this can again form part of a question in your examination. So let me bring, just give me a second. Yeah. So we are looking for data coding control. So what I'll do, I'll suppose I want to type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the original number that I want to type, that I want to enter. But by mistake, I enter. So this becomes one mistake. Okay. Then I can do other mistakes. Now, these two are two categories of mistake. If you look to these two mistakes, in the first mistake, the digits of the number remain same, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but the position of 2 and 1 by mistake it has altered. So this error in data coding is called as error of transposition. In second, a digit has been replaced. So 1 has been replaced by 8. That is called as an error of transcription. Okay. So two basic categories of errors, transposition and transcription. Transposition where the digits of the original number remain same, its relative position changes. Transcription where the digits also change. So there could be two types of transposition error. One is called as single transposition. There is one mistake. Another is called as, say you can say double or multiple. So where suppose the number fed is, so two transposition errors are there. Then within transcription also you could have multiple types. One is called as substitution. Yeah. Substitution means where the original digit is one digit is replaced. So our 1 is replaced by 8. Now, if the number fed is 2, 3, 4, 6, this error is called as, it has two names, error of truncation or error of subtraction, where the numbers of the digit have been reduced in the length. Okay, subtraction. Then there, if you read subtraction, there is another possibility. The number that you have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is fed as 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this becomes error of addition. Just keep a tag of this. These are multiple errors that can happen in transcription transposition. The control to this is called as check digit. So check digit is the control used to keep a tag of it. Just for those who are interested, in Excel, if you try, there is a check N11 module, CN11, check N11 module that is used to create a extra digit at the end of the number to keep a tag of these errors. So that is transcription transposition. Just this discussion to help you understand the various parameters built into it. Okay. So back to our module. Yeah. So that is data coding. I'm not reading more here. Yeah. Now, batch control. Please understand, batch control is relevant where you have this idea about batch processing. So please understand, before you understand batch control, you need to understand batch processing. Before you understand batch processing, you need to understand there are three types of processing. So again, I'll explain you the three types of processing so that the idea gets into it. So our idea is clear that we need to understand the subject to the maximum possible depth. So what I'm bringing to you, the three types of processing, and then we'll come to batch control. So that will help you understand very easily and relatively better. Yeah. So now after this, our same. Okay. So let us do it here. The three types of processing. So first is called as online. The other is called as real time. And third is called as batch. These are basically batch, three types of process that we are learning. Online is, there's an immediate update that you call as. So please understand, the key to online is the transaction occurrence and capture in system is immediate. So as soon as the transaction is there, it is captured in system. That is online. Real time is a step ahead. Real time is online plus what? A response. Say, for example, we took those examples about linking the store system to purchase system. How did we link it? That if an items level in stores system hits the reorder level, the purchase system automatically generates a purchase order. So we have linked two systems, stores and purchase system. So this, where a system generates a response to an online transaction, it becomes a real-time system. And the last is batch processing, where there is a time gap between occurrence of transaction and recording of transaction. Batch processes where there is a time gap between occurrence and recording of processing. That is called as batch processing. So where it happens, you accumulate. So you accumulate number of transaction and then you process. Now, when you talk of batch process, see in online and real time, what happens? The transactions are immediately captured, but in batch, there's a time gap. So you need to ensure that during this time gap, there is no loss of transaction. All transactions that form part of a batch are properly recorded and updated into system. So for this, if you use batch process, then you need to have an additional controls that is called as batch control. So please understand, batch process is basically relating to having batch controls. So Kojema, thanks for this. Kojema says, sir, our query solving is real time. So you raise the query, I respond to them. Great. Thank you. Okay. So batch. So when you read batch controls, please understand batch control relating to where the process is batch process. Okay. Let us go to the module. Then now we'll read the controls. Yeah. So batch controls, there are three types of batch control. Financial total. Now, let us take this example. Suppose there are 50 cash payment vouchers which are created in a batch. So financial control will be what? The total of the payment of the 50 cash payment voucher, that will become your total financial total. Then I'll come to hash total later. First talk about document or record count. Where if my batch is 50 cash payment vouchers, so my record count becomes what? 50. That is my total number of vouchers. Now come to hash total. See, hash total is total of any other numeric field from the batch other than the financial field. So take this example. Say, for example, you have cash payment voucher starting from number 51 to 101. So this 50 cash payment was to 100, 51 to 100. So this cash payment voucher will have total cash outflow, that is financial total. The number of vouchers are 50, that is document total. And what you can do as another control total, what you can have hash total. Hash total you can do total of any other numeric field. Say, for example, you can total voucher number itself. So suppose I say that I will have total number from 51 to 100. So I'll total that total of voucher number. I'll keep as a record that from 51 to 100. So 51, 52, I'll join them together. So if I total that, so that becomes my financial total of voucher numbers. Now what I do, please understand the process also. So I calculate these before I feed the batch in system. So three things I will have: the financial total of the batch, the hash total. In our example, we are totaling the voucher number, that is a numeric. And third is the total records which will be fed in the system. So I keep these three data with me before I enter the batch in system. And once the batch is entered into system, system generates this data. So my pre-calculated data and system generated data are compared and just check whether there is an error or not. Just for your understanding's sake, this comparison is not a manual comparison. When I feed the batch in system, system asks me to give these three totals. So system I will ask me, please tell the financial total calculated by you. Please tell the hash total calculated by you. Please tell the document count taken by you. And then that will be compared through system generated total. If they tally, batch is processed. If they are not tallied, then it gives an error. That is. Okay. Then validation of input. Now, this was a phenomenal topic, field validation of data input. I'll just do with some simple examples. Okay, field check. So field check is your cash payment limit you can fix in system. So no cash payment in excess of 10,000. IRCTC.co.in. We talked about the age. So the minimum age is 5, maximum is 125. There are still controls. You cannot put alphabets into that. So all this becomes part of field check. Then record check. This includes reasonableness check, whether the value specified is reasonable for that particular field. Say, for example, take this, that in Factories Act, you must have read Factories Act 1948. It is written that no worker can work for more than 64 hours in a week. So 6 days, 8 hours, that is 48. And a worker can have 2 overtime days, so 16 hours. So maximum is 64. Beyond 64 hours, if a worker is working, it becomes a health hazard for the individual. So Factories Act restricts that. So that becomes like a reasonableness check. Then sequence, the documents have to be as per sequence. Batch check, this includes check like transaction type. Again, sequence check is also part of that. And file check, this is very important. Which file version are you using? Then coming to audit trail controls, accounting audit trail and operations audit trail. This must keep origin, content, and timing of transaction, that is accounting audit trail, and operations audit trail. Some of the data that might be collected include time to key in the source document and instrument in system. So that becomes operations audit trail. Then communication control. Communication controls means when you're sending data from one location to another, to have control on that. So first, having control on physical components, that someone did talk about modems and routers. So having physical control on component is physical component control. Then the other controls are basically technical in nature, the way you communicate. So another error could be line error, where data is transmitted over communication line. It can be received in error because of attenuation. These are, if you know, if you want to note, you just keep it. There's a concept of dB, decibel, which measures the strength of the communication. So there could be the strength goes down, some electrical interference, the strength, the message is deleted. So all these are basically errors. So you need controls to correct and identify these errors. Then flow control. Flow means from where to where it is going. Flow control are needed because two nodes in a network can have different speed that they transmit or send, receive data. Flow control will be used therefore to prevent mainframe flooding the microcomputer. So this is speed managing between sender and receiver. Then link control, proper linkages are there. In WAN, line error control and flow control are important functions in component that manage the link between two nodes. Topological control. Topological means you must have read star, bus, mesh, ring network. So topology, how it looks from the top. So the way you create your network. So control on those aspects. A communication network topology specifies the location of node within the network. So the category of network you are using, control on that. Then channel access control. Channel access means when you are communicating, two different nodes in a network can compete to use a communication channel simultaneously. Like we talked about concurrency in data. So this issue can here be also two people want to send message, but it has to go through the same line. Then there has to be something called a pooling method or contention method. That is how you prioritize the person who is going to get the first access. Then control over subversive attack. Now this is important. The word is important. Subversive means any attack done to harm the system, the communication system. So you require proper concealing of communication. Then you need to have controls to identify any such subversive attack. It's a big topic. Just keep a tag of it. Firstly, the physical barriers needed to ensure that channels cannot be subversively attacked. Inter-networking controls. Different inter-networking devices like bridge routers are used. So there has to be controls on those. Please understand, hackers have capability of hacking these devices through technology. So that level we need not understand gain, but just understand the risk is there and you're communicating. So those controls are needed. Then audit controls, these includes collection of data like unique identifier from where it originated, and operations include the messages, the number of messages, the transferred link. Those are operations audit control. Okay, now coming to this query from Kojima. If I want to write 50,000 number and mistakenly I write, so please understand. So if you use Excel and if I type 5,000 against 50,000, so if I want to insert 0 before 5, it will not take. So my 50,000 is 5,000. So I have to read it like that. So it would be a transcription error and a subtraction error. Kusema. Okay. Then processing control. So processing control at the time of processing. Okay. So this includes controlling at the time of processor. This includes error detection and correction. So this requires, again, understand these are very highly technical issues, but important. Processors might malfunction due to anything. So you need to have a concept of error detection and correction for those. Then multiple execution states. So processor may be doing more than one job. It is important to determine the number of and nature of execution states enforced by the processor. So keep a tag of what exactly processor is doing, controlling those. Then timing control. Yes, I don't know the flowchart chapter 1. So I learned from my school days. So sometimes we used to make flowcharts which went into infinite loop. So system may be stuck like that. So during processing, system may get into an infinite loop. So then you have to keep a tag of that. Component replication. Now replication is doing it again, creating a redundant element for that. In some cases, processor failure can result in significant losses. So you have redundant processes allowed to detect and be corrected. So component replication. So just multiple stages are there, multiple processing is there, so processor may fail. So you require redundant process to ensure system does not fail. Then this word, we did talk about concept of virtual private network, concept of virtual memory. Now these two, real memory controls and virtual memory controls, are basically controls on the real memory and virtual memory size of RAM. I want you to answer. Once you answer, we'll read this again. Suppose I ask you the real memory size of my RAM. We took a lot of examples in chapter at the start of this chapter. Real memory size of my RAM is 4 GB. You have to tell me what is virtual memory size of your RAM. Then once you tell it, I'll read that so that we create a good understanding. Then controls on application software which are being used, and the data that operating software application software is using, and now the audit trail controls. So audit trail controls includes traceability, replication, where the transaction initiated. So those are basically accounting audit trail, and operations audit trail is a detailed log of what all actions have been done on CPU. So I'm waiting for answer to this question. If real memory size of my RAM is 4 GB, what is virtual memory size? Someone has put a question. Let me answer that. Okay, Tanisha, audit trail, we have talked a lot, but let us do it again. See, audit trail is basically a word that tells you that you link the source of the transaction to the object of the transaction. So I'm doing a reverse example. Say, imagine a financial statement and sales value appearing in trading account. So this sales value in trading account has come from where? So it has come from your trial balance. So from trading account, you go to the trial balance. Trial balance is summary of ledger. So from trial balance, you go to ledger. Then ledgers is a accumulation of transactions done during the year. From ledger, you go to the daily transaction list. This transaction list is basically generated from your daily sales voucher. So then you get to your daily sales voucher, your invoices. So sales invoices are accumulated in your sales ledger. That is totaled, accumulated in trial balance, and this is taken to your profit and loss account, trading account as sales. So this chain from what was my source? The sales voucher, to ledger, to trial balance, to balance sheet, to P&L, to trading account. This chain is called as audit trail, the link of the transaction from object to source. Now in technology, initially, I'm taking just 1 minute more to explain to you audit trail. So initially, when this audit trail as a concept was there in manual accounting system, we used to call it as a one-to-one link. So one transaction was linked to one transaction. But now because technology is there, the audit trail has become one-to-many. So single transaction triggers everything. Just imagine Tally, just for the sake of it. So you record a sales in Tally. So immediately the sales ledger is updated, the sales voucher is created, sales ledger is updated, the trial balance is updated, the balance sheet P&L trading is updated. So now it has become one to many, but the trail is there. So that is the audit trail. The relevance of audit trail to all of you as CA student is that there is a Ministry of Corporate Affairs notification mandating all incorporated entities to have those accounting softwares which have non-editable audit trail. Now, the application of that notification has been deferred for 1st April 2023. So just that is why this topic audit trail is important. Yes. Yes, Pranav, you have to find some way of remembering the words. Okay. Then redundant means Sharon, additional. Redundant means additional. Yes, good. So good. So Alok and Pranav have given the right answer. Good. So the e-chocolate has to go to Alok and Pranav. Pranav, sorry. The virtual memory size is infinite. So how does it work that your real memory is 4 GB and whatever applications you use, software you use, it is saved here. So you use another app, it is saves again on your real memory. So never you get a message that your real memory is full, but the size is 4 GB. So it only takes that much part of the software that you're using right now. So virtually it appears as never ending, that is infinite. So that is real memory and virtual memory. If the words are clear, then controls will be clear. So during processing, processor needs to ensure that proper controls exist for real as well as virtual memory. Okay. Then database control. Yes, access control, who can access data. Integrity means to ensure that no one can do unauthorized tampering with data, that is integrity. Application control software, because see, application software is going to access database. So whatever access is from application software to database, that also need to be controlled. Concurrency control, we did talk about it, that if two people are trying to update data together, then that control is concurrency control. You need to have a mechanism to prioritize access by two persons. You also answered that question, that employee database, the salary is being updated by human resource manager and salary is being calculated by accounts manager. So who must be given first access? So you correctly answered human resource manager. So that is concurrency. And cryptographic is to ensure that data is kept in a encrypted form. Then file handling, to ensure that there is no destruction of data by mistake, accidental destruction. That is why whenever you in your computer also, you say delete command. So always every application or system is going to ask, are you sure? So giving you a warning that whether you want to delete or not. Then accounting and audit trail, data items to confirm whether application is properly processed, and chronologies, operations, audit trail. Yes. Then output control. Now, the first one, first one is a phenomenal case to understand. Okay, I'll tell you with a good example. I'll bring that to you. It's a phenomenal control to talk about. So let us talk about the others, then we'll come to the first again, inference control. To draw conclusion. There is a very good case I want to share with you. Okay. Then batch output, production and distribution control. So whatever outputs are there, they need to be properly distributed to the right person. Within this, number of controls are given: report program execution control, spooling file control, printing control, report collection control, user client service review control, report distribution control, user output control, storage control. So within this, then retention and destruction control. So a lot of there is there in batch output, production and distribution control. So the core is that whatever outputs are generated, they must be authenticated. Who is the valid receiver? They must go to the valid receiver in given frame of time. Then batch report design control, how you design your report. That is then same, if the controls valid for batch are also valid for output, online output, production and distribution control. So the same things are there. There the output is batch, here it is online. And audit trail controls. So accounting audit trail, this includes what output has been assimilated for presentation to user And operations audit trail, this maintains the record of resource consumed by components in output subsystem. What exactly you are consuming. And now coming to inference control. So let us read. These are used to prevent compromise of statistical databases from which user can obtain only aggregate statistics rather than value of individual data items. Now, please understand what exactly is the idea. So I'll share with you an example to you. Okay. Our topic heading is inference control. Now, say, for example, there are two companies, A Limited and B Limited. A wants information about an employee G. This employee is working in B Limited. So, because G is a very respected employee and A wants that G to join A. G is working in B. So, A wants to give a proposal to G. But then, what proposal to give? So, what A must know? A must know the salary of G. G is general manager in B Limited. Okay. So, what A does, A talks to an employee E. E is employee of B. He is working in HR department of B. So A tells E that if you can give me salary of G, the employee of the company, I'll give some compensation. It could be monetary kind, whatever it is. It is unethical, but okay, let us talk about it. Then, so what E does, E is employee of HR department. So E goes into the system, types. So he generates a query. Salary of, he feels that he can get the answer G. System says no excess allowed. Why? Because you're a simple employee of the company. You don't have access to a general manager's salary information. So system says no excess allowed. Now, please understand, E is intelligent. See what it does. Just look to that. Inference control. It's a phenomenal control. And I'm sharing this case to tell you the intensity of the controls. They have to be put in place if you want to have systems. So E is intelligent. Now see what query he generates. So he generates question. You played that game, huh? That 20 question game, guessing the name of the movie, exactly the same way. So A generates, E employee goes into the system, generates a query. What is the query? Yes. Salary of all the employees of B. Yes, he gets an answer. X, 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 X. This is the salary. It's a generally, you may also know public figures, or it's a public document, public data that is put in balance sheets of the company. So you get the salary of all the employees. Then he generates another query, E. Salary of all employees. Age below 50. Another answer. Now understand, the relevance of question 2 is that G is only employee in B with age more than 50. So difference between query 1 and query 2 is what? Salary of G. That is what you call as inference control. Imagine the intensity of that. Okay. So that is inference control. So restricting users only to get. And I've shared a live case with you. There is some fraud happened in some companies some time back. So that is inference control. Yes, difference is salary of G. Yeah. It's a very intensive topic. Huh? You can talk a lot on this. Then, okay, let us go to our slide. Application controls. So audit function to maintain records, and operations is to what exactly has been done. So we have talked about this. Yes, Alok. Yes, yes, yes. Hmm. So we have talked about all this. Access controls, types of controls. Yeah. Then audit trail controls, input controls, data coding, batch, validation, transcription, addition, truncation, substitution, transposition. It's a fast revision, financial total, hash total, document record count, field checks, then audit controls. We talked about this. Okay. Database. Yes. Inference. I shared an example with you. Okay. Now coming to information systems auditing. So need for audit, objective, tools of IS audit and audit trail. Now, this is why you need an information system audit. So this is very, very important. See, okay, I'm putting this question back to you. Audit by its nature intent is what? Preventive, detective, or corrective? I'll read the answer, but I want you to tell. Audit by nature is what? So, organizational cost of data loss. So, if you don't have audit, yeah, so good. So, Jyoti says correct. Detective. So, detective is the correct answer. Now, when you audit, so basically what you're looking for detection. So, detection of error, detection of fraud, all these are there. Detection of some controls not working properly, lacunas in internal control, gaps in controls. So this is why you require audit. Now, if you identify all these things, this is the benefit. So this is why you need to do an audit, because data loss cost to organization is high. If system is not generating information accurately, you'll be doing incorrect decision, misuse of computer. If audit is not there, hardware, software, personnel could be subject to misuse. If you don't have audit and there's an error in system that goes undetected, the cost of error is going to be very high. For use of privacy, also you require audit and control evolution of computer use, how you're starting using computers. So that these are the reasons for which you require audit. All of the above. Okay, detective. So detective is the correct answer. Audit per se is detective. Then objectives of audit: asset safeguarding, data integrity, system efficiency, and system effectiveness. To ensure all these objectives are achieved, there is no loss of asset. The data is kept in integral. System is effectively and efficiently working. Then tools for IS audit. So we'll do it here itself. I'll share with live example. Snapshot, integrated test facility, system control audit review file, CIS, and audit hooks. So let us talk about, first understand what are these techniques, tools for information system audit. They are also referred to as concurrent audit techniques or continuous audit techniques. Why you require these techniques? So please understand. So what I'm bringing for learning each of the techniques, I'm bringing a Word document and then we'll discuss and learn each through. So I'll first create some examples for us to understand and then we'll learn through that. Okay. So let us do it. Yeah. Now, NSC, any guess on how many brokers of NSC? Any wild guess you have? Brokers of NSC here. So I'll just wait for your answer. Now, so you have to answer 2 or 3 questions. Okay. So first, the number of brokers on National Stock Exchange. Then transactions in quantity each broker will do. Okay. Yeah. So I'll take the most appropriate. So Josh has said 500 to 1000. It could be just recheck, but okay, let us take 500. Then how many transaction each broker will be doing in terms of number of transaction on a daily basis. So Muhammad Abid said million. So I thought, let us take million as a number of transaction. Yeah. So I've got 500 brokers multiplied by million. So that is 10 lakh. So as I multiply, so number of zeros are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I have to add 5 here. Okay. Yeah. So that is how you do it. So 500, 5 crore transactions daily. And NSE has working of 200 days in a year. So now I multiply 200 by the number of transactions on a daily basis. So 200 into 500 into the number of transactions daily. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1 extra, and then 1 here. Yeah. So that is how I calculate. So these are the number of transactions, 1000 crore transactions annually. And so now I'll use 1000 crores. And NSE has, margin money conditions. Suppose NSE has 5 types of margin money to be maintained by broker. Margin money, I think you must have read it. So there is a script-based margin, ad hoc margin, mark-to-market margin. So that means, so each transaction has to be validated for 5 margin condition. So there are 5,000 crores validation per annum. Now, suppose you're auditor and just understand what we are basically doing, trying to get into the topic, and then we'll audit this topic through that, audit this data through the techniques. You're auditor, and then you have been asked to audit whether the 5,000 crore margin validations were correct or not. Please listen to the question. You are auditors and you have been asked to audit that 5,000 crore margin validations were correct or not. You have to say valid or invalid, like that. Validations were done in system. You have to audit. You have to see whether it was correctly done or not. Now, understand this itself creates a point of discussion. Suppose I ask you, can this be done manually? Can you do this audit manually? So the point blank answer is no, it cannot be done manually. So then you have to do it through. So you have to do through computer system. Yes. Then manually not possible. Computer system. Yes. Then next. Would you like to do this transaction audit annually or on a daily basis? So given an option, you like to do daily basis. Why? Because the daily volume is very high and daily value is also very high. So if you allow the transaction to be remaining unaudited on the day of transaction and you do it afterwards, then the loss would have been immense, huge loss. So daily audit through system, how you do it? You cannot do it manually. This creates a word called as continuous audit technique or CAT. This is what you call as CAT, or I can add another A, computer assisted audit technique. So what you're basically reading are those IS audit tools are defined as CATs, computer assisted audit techniques. Yes. Not cannot. So you all answered yes. So you all go by daily. Great. So now this is the topic heading that you are looking at. These are why you require IS audit tools, because the volume, value, frequency, intensity of transactions in technology is so high that those cannot be audited through using traditional methods of audit. You need to evolve, you need to use system. So what we have basically created a why you require IS audit tool. So we have gone a shade behind the header of the module. IS audit tools. So we have answered the question why IS audit tool. Now let us take the IS audit tool. So let us take the first one. Snapshot. So how Snapshot works. So imagine a company like say, let us do it. Any big software company we can talk about. So say a big software company in India, X Limited. The software company has 3 lakh employees. Okay. Now this 3 lakh employee salary is being processed. This 3 lakh employee salary is being processed. You are auditor and you need to see whether the salary is being processed correctly or not. So what do you require? A technique to check that. So there are 3 or 4 stages of calculating salary. The basic salary. Then after that you calculate the system calculates the allowances. After calculating the allowances, system calculates the deductions, and after that it calculates the net salary. Now 3 lakh employees and multiple parameters, attendance, and this calculation has to be checked. So what auditor does in the application program, when these material calculations are being done, so based on a selection of employee, there could be logic of selection, leave that logic right now. But for selected identified employees, what the auditor does, the software is placed in the application program, and at each calculation, it captures an image of the transaction as it is being processed. So I'll just do it for you. Okay, let us see how does it appears to you. So I'm doing the snapshot. Just keep a tag of the bottom part of the screen. It shows the date and the time. Okay, see how it looks like. Just give me a second. Now you see, I'll just zoom it. Yeah. So you can see it. So this is, I have captured the image. So exactly this way, what the system does, it captures the image of the transaction at each stage of process. So when basic salary is being calculated, the image is captured of that identified employee. Then when allowances are being calculated, image is captured, deductions image is captured, and net salary image is captured. And this is validated whether this field value or transaction value at each of these intermediate stages is correct or not. So snapshot creates that. This is you call as snapshot. What is, if you literally read it, taking image, snapshot is taking image. And exactly because snapshot works like this is also referred to as a disadvantage of snapshot because it is on image capturing. So it uses lot of storage space. First, second, because you have to take snapshot as specified location during processing. So identifying the location where the snapshot has to be taken becomes very, very critical. That is how snapshot works. Okay. So let us take the second one. So first was snapshot. Then now the second word in the module is ITF. You take the full form, integrated test facility. Let me use the short form. Okay. Integrated test facility. How it works. Same way. Say for example, in your accounting, let us take Tally as an example, or any accounting software that you are using. So there is a cap of payment beyond 10,000. 10,000 से ज़्यादा cash payment कर सकते नहीं है. So if you cannot do cash payment in excess of 10,000, then, and you are informed that the control is there in system. You have been informed that the control is there in system. So what you do, you want to test the control. What control? Whether the 10,000 above cash payment can be processed in system or not. So because you want to test the control, you create something called as a dummy event, or for us, we call it as dummy transaction. So you create a dummy cash voucher. What will be the payment value of the cash voucher more than 10,000? You process the dummy transaction in system. If it processes, that means control is not working. But If while you are processing a cash payment voucher in excess of 10,000, the system says the voucher cannot be processed, it is more than 10,000, then you know what testing you have done? You have done what is called as compliance testing of system. Control is there and it is working effectively. To ease existence and effectiveness of control, you have checked. So integrated test facility is basically while you are working, while live working is there, you create a dummy transaction to see whether a control is working properly or not. That is why the word integrated test facility. Integrated means along with the live transaction. That is. Now, there's one important aspect to remember with integrated test facility. It works on creating dummy entity transaction. The risk, the integrated test facility has exactly this. Whatever dummy transaction you create, you must roll it back. You must bring it to, because if it remains in system, then the risk is high. So it has to be rolled back. That is the risk of integrated test facility. Then third one is, so I'll again use the short form. Yeah. Then I'll allow you to read that. System control audit review file SCARF. Now, how does this third one work? So the example on the screen that you are seeing is the one that is, we will audit through using SCARF. So system control audit review file. Just see how it works. So I'm putting a question to you, allowing you to answer. Okay, just listen to this question carefully. NSE has a 10% margin condition. What it means that any broker who wants to do a specified value of transaction per day, he or she must have a specified margin equal to 10% of the desired volume. So the broker, we are talking about X, say, broker has deposited 1 crore rupee in cash. 1 crore रुपए ब्रोकर ने कैश जमा कर दिए हैं. 10% की मार्जिन मनी कंडीशन है. तो अगर 1 crore, if I have deposited 1 crore, what value of transaction I can do? 10 crore. So I am a broker and I have deposited 1 crore as cash with NSE and I can do 10 crore rupee transaction. My today's status is I have already executed 9 crore 50 lakh rupee transaction. These have been done. Already done. Now, I'm trying to do another transaction. The transaction value now that I'm trying to do is oh, sorry. I am trying to do another transaction for, I consume 9 crore 50 lakh, that much transaction have been done. So I can do any transaction up to 50 lakh rupees. So I'm trying to do 1 crore. Yeah. That zero came. You have to say whether this will go. I'm trying to do additional 1 crore transaction. Will this go ahead? So I'll just wait for the answer because you have, yeah. So will this 1 crore additional transaction go? Okay. By the time you answer, let me read some updates you have done. So Pranav has said that, yeah, see, Pranav, selection of employee for whom I am going to take snapshot is your SA 530 sampling. Okay. So which employees I am going to select for snapshot is through SA 530. And then based on SA 530, I take the screenshot. Okay. No, Alok, yeah. So snapshot is an audit technique. The working is like taking screenshot. Yeah. But snapshot has more to it. Huh? The working is like a screenshot. So to that extent, yes. No. Good. Cannot go ahead. Yes. Only up to 50 lakhs. Perfect. But Now, see, please understand, imagine yourself as a broker. You cannot have cuts like this, means you cannot have a very uh, thick dividing line. You need to have options. So what NSE has allowed, that a broker can utilize 5% additional margin. I can utilize 5% additional margin. Means, because see, I cannot have a cut like this. Transactions are not beyond in my control. There is always a chance I'll go beyond my margin. So NSE has said, okay, you can use up to 5% additional. So if NSE has allowed me to use 5% additional, will the transaction go? Yes. Now the transaction will be processed, because with 5% additional margin, I can do a 1 crore additional transaction. But NSE has put a condition. What is the condition? That if me as a broker use any additional margin any day, I need to deposit that use in cash next day morning. Good. So the transaction goes, the broker's business doesn't stop, but he or she or it has to comply with the additional margin to be deposited in cash next day. So broker will deposit the additional amount required to go by the transaction. So 5 lakh rupees he will deposit next day morning. Now the most important part, I understand this transaction is clear to us. Is this a normal transaction? Is this a normal transaction? No, it's an exceptional transaction. It has one more condition attached to it. So what is done in NSA system? An audit module is put in NSA system. An audit module is put. Every transaction that is audited on NSA system is audited by audit module also. In this audit module, these conditions are specified. Which one? The one we have taken as an example, that any broker who uses margin beyond specified has to be noted, captured in the audit module. So what audit module does? It captures this transaction. Please understand, it's a voluminous transaction. The speed is so fast. It will be impossible for auditor to audit at the same moment of time. But what auditor has done? Auditor has created an audit module placed with NSA system, so that these transactions are captured in the audit module. Once this audit module captures this specified transaction, I have taken one example. You can create more examples. Once the transaction is captured by audit module, the auditor reviews the transactions recorded on the audit file. The name of the technique is the name of the audit file. Read it. System Control Audit Review File. Got it? Now, how does the audit module records? It's a technique. So audit module can record through snapshot in its file. It can record in any different manner, any other manner. It can keep a transaction trail. It can keep a data trail in with itself. But point is, it records in a separate file. That is the name of the file, linked to the name of the technique. Then next is CIS, continuous and intermittent simulation. Please understand, the core difference between SCARF and CIS, continuous and intermittent simulation, is SCARF works on application level. CIS works on DBMS level. Rest, the techniques were virtually same. That's. And the last is audit hook. Hook means to pull. So audit hook means you pull out few transactions based on given definition in system. That is audit hook. That is 5 techniques. Okay. Any queries on this? Please ask me. I am there to explain again. Just go to the module for a fast recap of this. Snapshot this. Yeah, it's written. Small variation. It works on database management. Audit hook is pulling based on a flagging of suspicious transaction. That's. Okay. Then Audit Trail. This topic is easy. We have discussed a lot from day one. So what is the purpose of an audit trail? So it detects unauthorized access. If some error goes, then this. Okay, let us take this a very different example for understanding this audit trail objective. This, wherever there is a aircraft crash or a flight crashes, what is the first thing that you look for? जब कोई हवाई जहाज की दुर्घटना होती है, सबसे पहले क्या ढूंढते हैं? So the first thing that you search for is what is called as flight data recorder or a black box. What it has, it's a simple tape. Please understand, flight data recorder or black box is a simple tape. It keeps recording of all communication between the pilot and the control towers as soon as the flight commences, and it has this uh, all parameters of the flight, the height and temperature and fuel status, everything is also maintained in this flight data recorder. So whenever a crash happens, you search for the flight data recorder. The core purpose of searching the flight data recorder is point number 2, reconstructing events to see what went wrong. So audit trail can be used for reconstructing events. And last is important, personal accountability. Who did it? That can be found through an audit trail. Okay. Then this, I'll just bring the module for the day. There's a question by Sharon. Sharon, Scarfish System Control Audit Review file. So what system control audit review file? It's a continuous concurrent audit technique. It is used by auditors to capture transactions which are beyond specified parameters. It can be specified transactions, defined transactions which are captured in this file and which auditor reviews. To create the file, auditor has to have an audit software. This audit software has to be installed at the client location, like in our example, to NSC system. Yes. Okay. So let us allow me to bring today's presentation. Yeah, this please do give feedback. Do say yes, no, you understood your query. So it helps me keep a tag of whether I've answered your question. So thank you, Sharon. Yeah, just do tell me if Pranav says, sir, in case of a crash, you search for a parachute. Good. Then, so auditing environmental, physical, security control, logical access management control framework, and application control. Now, see, because we've established controls, now you're going to audit controls. So, not much is going to change. The only thing is establish. Okay, let me ask this question. So, establishing control is responsibility of whom? Management. What auditor's responsibility is to see whether the control exists. If exists, they are working effectively and they work effectively for the period of audit itself. So this aspect is more built on the controls which have been put in place. So most of the topic, most headers are same that we talked about in establishing control. The only one parameter that has been added is that auditor needs to see whether the control exists, and if they exist, they need to work effectively. That is the point. Okay, so let us go to the module. Yeah, Dhyanesh. So responsibility of implementing control is management's. Auditor's responsibility is to see whether it is working or not there. So what we'll be doing, we'll be not putting much time to this. I'll explain the keywords, and then if you have a query, do ask me. Rest, we'll just go through the headers. Okay. So role of IS auditor in auditing environmental control. Now, the first line is very important. In fact, after the attack on World Trade Center in 2001, the whole world realized the issue of disaster, disaster management, in fact, backup, need for backup. You need backup, you need proper backup, you need the concept of restoration of backup. So these terminologies came to light after this attack on World Trade Center. There was a huge human life loss. To what I know from best sources, roughly 3,000 people lost their life. That is one aspect of it. The other very important aspect of that is many business closures were there. It's an estimated loss that the ripple effect of the loss due to attack on World Trade Center is something that time roughly near 2 trillion US dollar. A trillion US dollar in rupee, if it has to be converted, is 1 trillion US dollar. At today's rate of conversion is 82 lakh crore rupees. Please understand, read the way I have said. 82 lakh crore rupees is roughly 1 trillion dollar today. So it is estimated that much loss and the ripple effect of it. So because that awareness came, the loss was immense. Beyond the human life loss, business loss was immense also. So this aspect of audit has come to forefront, that whether things are proper or not. So what you look for? Audit of environmental controls, proper power conditioning is there, proper UPS, line conditioner, such. We had a good discussion on all these topics. So what auditor is basically looking for, whether these things are proper or not. Proper backup of power is there. Now, backup you can have backup through UPS, you can have backup through generators. So sometimes this distinction has to be made. So if there's a long-term power loss, or whatever location you are, there is a long-term power loss, you require generator set. Then proper heating, ventilation, and air conditioning has to be there. That we call as HVAC. Systems have to be put in place. I've already talked about ATM as an example. Air conditioning. In fact, server rooms where a lot of data is processed are mandatorily kept in air conditioning environment. Probably you must have read Facebook. I read some time back. They have created a huge dedicated server location in, I think, Greenland. Greenland is just below Arctic Ocean. So why the whole idea of creating a huge data center in Greenland? Because the temperature is generally minus below freezing point. So if you have a huge data server or data center there, you will not require separate air conditioning, because there will be natural air conditioning to all those servers. So this concept of HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning system, they have to be there, and they have to be properly monitored and controlled. Then water detection systems have to be there, fire detection and suppression system. In fact, sometime when you grow up, become chartered accountants, and this aspect comes for an audit to you, you can ask the employee of the company to show whether he or she can operate a fire extinguisher. Very, very important. So it has to be there, whether these fire extinguishers are there, whether they are usable or not. Very important. And cleanliness is an aspect. Then auditing physical security control. Now, what is the role of IS auditor? So a very important word has been used, risk assessment. So before you actually start audit, you need to start assessing the risk for that location. So you perform risk assessment. Risk assessment has two words prior to it: threat identification and vulnerability analysis. So then you come to risk assessment. It is given threats and vulnerabilities. Then once that has been done, you look for what controls have been put in. So that is control assessment, and what documents are there to justify all these things. Then audit of physical access control. So first aspect is risk assessment. Second is actually doing the audit. Sitting and marking. So auditing, building, sitting and marking requires attention to several key factors, including proximity to hazard. Yes, this is very important. In fact, tsunami that came I think, roughly 12 years back. It was due to earthquake. The earthquake was below Indonesia, somewhere there. That tsunami was again a huge learning for all world. The human loss, I don't know, but it has been thousands of people who lost life. Now, once the impact of that tsunami was like World Trade Center created a level of awareness to backups and all this. This tsunami created a level of awareness to this word which is here, proximity to hazard. Before that, this idea was not there. Once it was there, then just see, the whole world came to this understanding that being near a sea or a river or a lake has its own category of hazard. So proximity hazard, where is your physical location? That analysis. Then marking. The IS auditor should inspect the building and surrounding to see if proper marking is there or not. Physical barriers, who can come, who can go out. Surveillance, yes. Surveillance can be through system. Need to understand how video and human surveillance are used to control and monitor. Proper guards and dogs. Key card system, who can enter, who cannot enter. Very, very important. So that is auditing of physical access control. Then auditing of logical access control. Now, again, this is important. Please try to get under the idea behind this discussion. So, role of IS auditor in auditing logical access controls. Auditing logical access controls require IS auditor to identify several key areas. This includes, yes, this is very, very, very important. Network access path, from where the system can be accessed. So, if system can be accessed remotely, you require that remote access. In fact, just for the sake of it, uh, we talked about the word ransomware. Take it as part of your syllabus. If you, even if you don't find it in the module, learn that word, ransomware. What exactly is ransomware? I'll share that, and then I'll tell you why it is relevant for this discussion. So ransomware is that hackers hack your system. They encrypt all your files. All critical files are encrypted. Now, they are critical files, so you need access to those files. So you are not able to access. So then hacker sends you an email that if you want password to this file, which is important to you and which we have encrypted, pay us this much amount. That is ransom. So because it is done through technology, it is called as ransomware. The process is ransomware. And you know, hackers don't ask to be paid in rupee or dollar. They ask to be paid in what you may now know as cryptocurrency. What is one element of cryptocurrency that all world government across the world are afraid of? The one element of cryptocurrencies, they are non-traceable. Non-traceability is there. So ransomware. Now what ransomware has become important because this word is here. All across the world, organizations in developed economies also have been hit by ransomware, and a detailed analysis when done, it was this. I think I've given you that example. One of the locations we went some time back, so their server was hit thrice by ransomware. A lot of data analysis, lot of analysis was done to identify how a same system can be hit thrice by ransomware in 1 month. That means there is one path that is not secured. First attack was there, the system had to be formatted, firewalls were installed, passwords were given, people were told not to go to any internet site, everything was there. Still, you know how the attack came? Probably I must have shown you. This mobile that I am showing you was the source of ransomware attack in that organization. Let me tell more on that. How it was possible? You know, this C port, the charger, C point charger. So I've got the charger pin and this I can insert in my laptop desktop. So because an employee of the company inadvertently, he or she was not doing for purpose, he or she did not realize that his or her doing Charging mobile through cord and plugging it to desktop laptop can create a security risk. Now you get the word network access pop. That is the intensity of the word. So very, very, very important. Okay. So from where system can be accessed, then documentation. Yes. What is the network architecture which is being used? Then audit of all logical access control. This includes user access control, auditing user access control, their authentication, what access violations are there, how account lockout of user have been put in system, then how unauthorized access, intrusion detection prevention means how unauthorized access is documented, wrong passwords, how the tracking is there, how dormant accounts are acted upon. Now, dormant account means user has not used the account for last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So those accounts are dormant account. If they exist, they must be blocked permanently, because dormant means if an organization has an account which has become dormant because the user has not logged in for 30 days, that means there is something else. So it's ideally to block that account so that the risk is not there. And shared accounts, if they are there, then proper control on them, and system accounts, proper control on system accounts. Then auditing password management, the way passwords are created, the length of the password, the combination of the password, at what frequency you change the password. I'm asking this question to you. So, I made an analysis that how many password I use daily. So email, different emails, bank account and apps and multiple passwords. So my count is 25 password daily, 25. So, when you use so many passwords each day at different location, and remembering password is tough. So we'll all have a common solution. You know what is the common solution? You know what we do? So please answer in the chat. What you do when you have to use so many passwords. So auditing password management. Then auditing access user authorization. What access have been given? So what was the request by the user, what he or she wants to access? What was the approval given? Then new employee provisioning, how password access has been given to new employees, how segregation of duty has been built, and how access review has been performed. Then auditing employee termination. Yes, very termination process before you terminate, or in fact, companies do it like this, that before they terminate, they have started deleting the user IDs or restricting the employee user ID before this information is given to the employee that you are terminated. Then access review, what exactly was given to the employee for access. Then third party access need to be restricted. Next is user access log, what user has accessed, listing of that, the review of that, and preserving that log for later analysis. Then investigation procedures, if something goes wrong, what is the investigation policy procedures, how computer crimes are investigated, and what action is done. This is a very new field, please understand. Computer forensic. Forensic is analysis to find fraud. So because technology is used, computer forensic is an evolving field. So because a lot of tech, and in fact, this is part of many big organizations, like someone said, Infosys, Tata Consultancy, Wipro, Tech Mahindra, State Bank of India, ICICI Bank, all big organizations have a department, systems department that looks after these aspects, because this has become very, very critical. The internet point of presence, where the organization exists on internet, the social presence. So on search engines, social networking site, online sales site, domain names, why you exist. So you need to create a parameter for that. IS auditor should examine business records to determine on what basis the organization has created its online capabilities. How does it benefit the organization? So that is logical access control audit. This topic on 3.72 will take after the break. It's a good time to take a break. Just give me a second. Yeah. So we are having a break. We'll join at 7:40. And then you have answered common password. So let me clear that. Yes. So we all generally use a common password, and that is a big risk because you lose password, you lose all the resources. Okay. So let us have a break. It's break time. 7:40 we assemble. Shall I start? Okay. So students, auditing environmental, physical, logical. Now we took environmental, physical, logical. Now coming to management control and application control frameworks. Now, when you talk of managerial controls, so what exactly you are looking for? We've talked about, again, this is again looking for the auditor's aspect, top management control, system development, management control, program management control, data resource management, security management, operation and quality assurance and management control. Okay, so let us take them one by one. So yeah, few things have to be taken as they are. There is one question by Alok. See, strategic investor and normal investor. So if I and you buy a share of any company, that is a normally strategic investor who has evaluated, who wants company to take a direction, who takes a larger stake. Those will be basically strategic investors. Okay. Yeah, Kojima, I did tell at the start of the session today itself that I've got a lot of XBRL taxonomies to show, but they are third party contents. So it will be not good to show directly, Kojima. So I did go through Institute site. Institute has good write-ups on that. A lot of coding is also available from Institute site, but that screen that you want to see is a third party content that I cannot directly use here. So just let us see how we can do it. Okay. Now, again, we have read all these topics. What is the core here? The core is that where top management has been involved in planning, organizing, leading, controlling activities, auditor's concern is that these activities are performed in the same sense intent as they are planned. So I'm just reading one from the planning aspect. Auditor need to evaluate whether top management has formulated a high quality information systems plan that is appropriate to the need of an organization or not. A poor quality information system is ineffective and inefficient, leading to losing its competitive position within the marketplace. So see, if you look to the core of this, the underlying theme is that all these activities which are being done by management, what auditors' key concern has to be that these activities have been ethically done and done with good intention, and the activities have a quality aspect built into it. So if the activity doesn't have that quality aspect built, whatever auditor he or she audits, it will lead to finding of these gaps. So these gaps we need to come above. That is how you are looking at this. Okay. So planning, then organizing. Auditor should be concerned how well the top management acquires and manages staff resources. So again, if you look, so organizing includes hiring people, recruiting people, allocating job responsibilities. So how well that has been done. Now understand that these are single words, and there could be books to discuss on each of these words, because the intensity is again very high. The geographical spread of these activities is very, very high. Leading. Generally, auditors examine variables that often indicate whether motivation problem exists. So it adds a lot of management aspect to the audit process, checking whether this leading has been done properly. What are the failure percentages of the project taken by the entity? So this. Then controlling, to see whether the feedback mechanism that is used by management. So now it is controlling by management, and auditor is checking whether the controlling is being controlled properly. So I'll read it just to create a tongue twister out of it. So it's a controlling activity by management An auditor is auditing to see whether the controlling activity is properly controlled or not. That is, let us read. Auditor should focus on subset of the control activities that should be performed by top management, namely those aimed at ensuring that the system functions, accomplishes its objective at global level. Auditor must evaluate the top management choice to means of control over user of IS services likely to be effective or not. So how well the controlling is done to control, to check that is part of this aspect. Yes, leading is part of direction. Yeah. Then auditing system development management control. Now, please understand this. When we talked about this system development control, I did say please understand this is a phenomenal opportunity. Okay. So I'm just taking another aspect, bringing you to a level where you start imagining this as like a professional opportunity that you can all get into. So there are two aspects to it. First, being an auditor of this, and before you become an auditor, you can be consultant to that. So system development per se is an activity that those of you who have knack for system, those who enjoy system, just keep a tag of this word system development. It's a phenomenal professional opportunity that you can all get into. Now, when you talk of system development, so whether how the system was developed, whether it was developed properly or not, whether feasibilities and design and analysis was done correctly or not, that is part of system development controls put in place by management. Now you are looking to same from the perspective of auditor. So what you are basically looking at, that systems have been developed and whether these activities was done properly or not, that becomes a one parameter. Let us read some additional parameters are there in the module. Okay. So then I'll read and then I'll probably ask some questions also to you. Okay. Concurrent audit. As a member of the system development team, the auditor needs to assist the team in improving the quality of system development for specific system they are building and implementing. They shall ensure that the needed controls are built into system to produce high quality system. Now, please understand, the first one requires some understanding and discussion. What I told you that auditors can act as, or chartered accountants with system knowledge can act as consultant during system development process. So consultant is one part of the process. The word is concurrent audit means the entity has chartered accountant as their development team members. They are there to ensure the design is proper, the system is configured properly. The entity is going to have a chartered accountant who is going to act as a concurrent auditor. So this concurrent audit is basically parallel process during each stage of system development. So development is one aspect, audit is another aspect. So when you say concurrent audit, you're basically looking at a independent person who is auditing the development effort continuously, concurrently, as the development is going ahead. Okay, so now the question. So I've listened to Mohammad's chat. The question is, can the chartered accountant who is acting as consultant for development, can he, she also act as auditor for development? Let me do it again. So can the chartered accountant who is acting as consultant for development, can he, she also be auditor for development? You have to say yes, no. Okay. Then post-implementation audit. Now, so concurrent means you have audit process built during the audit. Post-implementation is you do the audit process after the implementation has been done. It's a post-mortem exercise. So why you take this post-mortem exercise? Why this has to be done? Let us go to the initial stages of system development. See, whenever you go for system development, there is a need that comes. So need may come from user, need may come from management. some new technology have to be adopted. Your competitor has built a new system, so you need to make sure that you are at the same parameter as your competitor is. So any system that is put in place, that system has a predefined purpose, objective, goal to achieve. So one of the key parameters for post-implementation audit will be that the purpose for which the system was developed, whether that system, that purpose has been achieved or not. That is one aspect. Let us read. So auditor seeks to help an organization learn from its experience in developing of specific application system. In addition, they might be evaluating current state of system regarding the purpose of safeguarding asset data integrity, efficiency, effectiveness, whether it is being achieved or not. And please write this additional line that I am sharing with you, that one of the aspects for post implementation audit could be to see whether the system, the purpose for which system was developed, whether that purpose has been achieved or not at that line. And then a general audit. Auditors evaluate the overall quality of system development process. So that becomes a general audit to look into. Now, all of you have answered the question. Let us see. No, 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 yes. Why no is the correct answer? Because yes, segregation of duty, Pranay. Auditor, a chartered accountant who is consulting during system development, she cannot be auditor for that system because there is a direct conflict of interest. That is a different aspect, Priyanka, whether he or she can be internal. Ideally, you must not be see if just look at this. Let us not go into the statutory aspects of all this. Let us talk about the ethical aspect or professional aspect. So if I have been part of system development team, then I must not be part of concurrent audit team. I must not be part of the internal audit team, nor I must be part of the statutory audit, because I was part of the system development. So that is how I look in terms of the ethical behavior that is expected. I think I have answered your question, Khojema. Yeah. Okay, there is a very different question by Mohammed Siddiqui. Okay. Maker checker cannot be same. Yeah. Yes, self-review threads. And in fact, see, if I find that some error is there, I may decide to hide it. Yeah. First. Yeah, first is, yeah. So no. Okay. Let us read the next one. Then auditing program management control. So I'm linking this discussion to the previous one. When we talked about system development control, I told you that program development is a subset of system development, but because it's a dedicated activity, it requires a set of independent persons to do it. So it is kept separate. Okay. So auditing, so you have a program management control and now auditing that. So that is the core where the hard coding and the software development is done. That aspect is program management. What auditor is going to look for? So auditor is going to look for that the steps of program management or program development have been correctly done, adhered to. So I'm just reading the steps: planning, control, design, coding, and testing. Okay. So few steps, I want you to keep few words. Planning is the software when it is being developed. So what aspects were considered, what different softwares were considered, probably the languages which were considered if you're developing on your own. Then control is very important, that while the software is being developed, the controls have to be put in place during this development phase. So it is very critical to ensure that these controls are there. Design, auditor should find out whether programmers use some systematic approach to designing of the software. Just for the sake of reference, in chapter 1, we talked about flowchart. There's a concept of decision table. So decision table, flowcharts, they're all used for designing of the program. So whether they have been correctly, appropriately used, whether a standard design methodology has been used. There are multiple methodologies which are used. Then coding means coding is the hard part. All these design document flowcharts are converted into code that you call as English language command that Kozema talked about, XBRL, extensible business reporting language, or XML, extensible markup language. So these are code, Java, C++. So these have their code. So how the coding has been done. So auditor needs to see whether it has been done properly or not. Now, next is very important. Again, this itself, software testing by name intent is a separate professional opportunity that you can all get into. So testing of the program. So when a program is developed, to test whether it is working properly or not. So now you're auditing. So what you're looking at whether the testing for the program which has been developed, whether all aspects were tested or not. All aspect means the value testing. There's something called, just if you want, for the sake of remembrance only, there is a concept of boundary value analysis. Boundary value analysis means every program is going to have a decision point. So whether the test data used for testing had boundary value analysis, a value less than boundary value, about value more than boundary value. So whether these, then there is a concept of unit testing we talked about. So whether all this testing have been done first. Second, when testing is done, what was the result of the testing? The results have been documented. If results show a variation, whether that variation has been acted upon, variance has been acted upon, or error has been acted upon. That is very, very, very important. Okay. Then next aspect is operation and maintenance. So auditor need to ensure effective and timely reporting of any maintenance issue. So what you're looking at, I'm just creating an example for understanding purpose. See, maintenance is like ensuring that the program does not stop. Why maintenance issue may arise? Because say there's something, a new data has been brought, a new feed has been there, new input value has been there. So how you ensure that that new input value, new data is incorporated in that program which is actually being used. So that becomes part of operation and maintenance. So program management control. Then auditing data resource management control. Now, data resource management, we have talked about all those aspects, whether they have been properly implemented or not, is part of this auditing. So what auditor he, she can do, there are two words given. So I'll request you, if you can tell by whatever is written, I'm not explaining to you, DA and DBA, data administrator and data base administrator. So one of the two is, if I create a hierarchy, one of the two is above the other one. So who is at the higher level of management hierarchy, DA or DBA? So I expect an answer. Based on the answer, I'll just tell you, that will help you gain an understanding fast of these two words. DA, data administrator, and DBA, data base administrator. So auditor should determine what controls are exercised to maintain data integrity. Integrity means, whenever you read integrity, what is the definition of integrity? Integrity is to ensure there is no unauthorized tampering of data. Integrity के मायने कोई भी व्यक्ति बगैर अधिकार के डेटा को परिवर्तित कर न सके, इसको इंटीग्रिटी का. No one must be able to tamper data without authorization, keeping it tamper proof. That is ensuring integrity of it. So integrity is basically relating to access control. Okay. So then whether access controls are working properly or not. Then update controls. Update controls. Okay. So now I've got your answer on DA, DBA. I'll read them and come to you. I want you to tell, suppose my word is, my control is update control. Why I require control? To mitigate a risk. So I have put an update control. I want you to name the risk which you can mitigate through having update control. We have discussed very thoroughly. It's a e-chocolate winning question for the day. I want you to tell me the control, the risk that you can manage, mitigate through update control. Okay. Then going ahead. So yeah, first question is answered DADB. I'll read them. And the second question is, if my control is update control, what risk it is mitigating? किस जोखिम को कम कर रहा है update control? We have talked about it more than once. I give you a live example. Then auditors might interview DA, data administrator, DBA, to determine the procedures used by them to monitor database environment. Now, please understand. See, DA is what you call as a planner. DA creates the conceptual design, the logical design for database. Database administrator is concerned with what you call as a physical design of database. Probably you must have read this logical schema, conceptual schema, physical schema. So DBA is concerned with physical schema. The planning design concept part is with DA. Okay. So with this, we come to the second line. Auditor need to assess how well DBA are carry out the functions of database definition, creation, redefinition, and retirement. So all aspects which are relating to the security of data, access of data are part of DBA. All aspects relating to planning, the conceptual, the logical design of databases with DA. So with this discussion, you all realize that who is at a higher hierarchy? DA. Okay. So the control we talked about was this. Okay, so I'll take access control, control risk, vulnerability, strategic risk. Okay. So the right answer to the question was, I told you, risk of concurrency. That human resource management and accounts manager, human resource management is looking to payroll and accounts manager is looking to the salary calculation. So risk of concurrency. So you can keep a tag of risk of concurrency through update controls. Then auditing security management control. So that was data controls. Now auditing security management controls. So security management, we talked about backup, we talked about insurance. So whether those things are properly done or not. So whether backup is there, when you talk of backup, you need to ensure whether it's working or not. So what auditor is going to see whether all the parameters for security management control are properly put in place, they are working, and auditor can test them also. Let us read. Auditor must evaluate whether security admin are conducting ongoing high quality security reviews or not. Auditor need to evaluate the performance of BCP. Now, please understand this word has come for the first time. Business Continuity Planning Control, BCP. Please write the full form. Business Continuity Planning Controls. The BCP controls are related to having an operational and tested IT continuity plan, which is in line with the overall business continuity plan and its related business requirement to make sure information technology services are available as required and to ensure minimum impact on business in case of an event of a major disruption. So business continuity plan is that anything happens, you ensure that the business is in working condition. I'm just taking a very simple example. Those of you who are in articleship and those of you who are going to go into articleship, say tax audits under income tax. So there are last date of filing of tax audits. So generally 30th September is the last day of filing tax audit reports, TAR, what you call as. So when you file tax audit reports, so now everything is digital, online filing has to be done. So many chartered accountants office, there is an issue that comes of broadband because 30th September everyone is doing. So sometimes it does happen that the broadband may crash or some disaster happens. Now, 30th September is a date that practicing chartered accountant needs to adhere to for filing the tax audit report. But suppose the date is not adhered to in terms of due to or it is going to be big loss. So you cannot do that. The penalty is very high. So suppose in a CA's office, the broadband connection crashes. Now, what you're looking for? Business continuity planning control. So every chartered accountant, she ensures a plan B. Plan B means if my regular broadband connection goes off, I must have alternate broadband connection. So why I need? Because I need to ensure minimum impact on business in event of disruption. So that is what auditor is looking for when the auditor is auditing the security management system. Again, please understand, whatever is being audited, the intensity of audit is directly related to the intensity of the control and its relevance to the business. So this is again a very important control for business. So that intensity is going to be reflected in your audit also. Auditor check whether organizations audit have an appropriate high quality disaster recovery plan in place or not. So I'm just asking a question. I have not discussed. Okay. So this BCP control and disaster recovery controls and this disaster recovery plan. So they are generally going to be used when there is a disaster or disruption. My question to you is for understanding purpose. This BCP or disaster recovery plan that we sometimes call as DRP. So BCP and DRP, they have to be put in place before disaster or after disaster. My question to you is that this BCP and disaster recovery plan, they have to be put in place before disaster or after disaster. Answer, then based on answer we'll discuss. So the question you are answering, that this BCP, DRP, these plans have to be put in place before disaster or after disaster. Then to check whether organizations have appropriate insurance plan or not. Okay, good. So chocolate to all of you. You have all answered correctly before disaster. Yes. So means if you don't have a BCP or DRP and disaster occurs, what will happen? Okay, so let me ask another question. Suppose I don't have a BCP or I don't have a DRP. DRP is disaster recovery plan and disaster occurs. I will be hit by which accounting standard? Okay, putting the question to you. I merge these subjects together. Huh? So suppose there is a BCP or there is a disaster and I don't have a disaster recovery plan in place. So if it happens, I will be hit by which accounting standard the most? डिजास्टर रिकवरी प्लान नहीं है और डिजास्टर हो गया तो मैं किस अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड से सबसे ज्यादा प्रभावित रहूंगा? ओके, yes, great. So yeah, so all of you have answered correctly, and I think I need to give this e-chocolate to Piyush and Jyoti. Going concern, accounting standard 1. See, the such a wide link of things are there. Okay. So not having a DRP or BCP can directly hit you in accounting standard 1. You may not remain a going concern. That is the point. Great. Yeah. Oh, 29 is also a good thing. Good, good. But my point was, Danny, good. So it's learning for me. Age 29 contingencies, events occurring after the contingencies. This contingent assets, liabilities, provisions, and AS4 contingencies and events occurring after the balance sheet date. Yes, good. So it's learning. In fact, good. So suppose this disaster occurs after balance sheet date. Yes, you are hit by AS4. Good, fantastic. So that tells me you have all learned your standards well. Great. Then auditing operation management control. Now this is the general performance, general activities which are being done in the organization. So how well they are being managed. So the activities of the librarians, the capacity enhancement activities, reliability of vendors, operations management, monitoring of outsourcing contract, SA 402, client using service organization. So how well these are being done. Then auditing. Yes, Manoj, there has to be some way of doing it, but I agree to Manoj. Sir, for this, we you deserve a real chocolate case. You all deserve a real chocolate. Okay. Yes. So that is, I think, one of the only disadvantages that I find of this online class. That even I wish I'm not able to send those that real chocolates to you. Rest is all taken care of. Then auditing quality assurance management control. So go to the topic quality assurance, the system, the purpose, the information that is generated, timely generated, quality information to see whether it is happening or not. That is auditing this part. So that is management controls. Let us go to the slide for a recap of the headers. Okay. Then auditing application control framework. Same. Now, so these controls were put in place now to see whether these controls are working properly or not. So application controls and their audit trails. So going back to the module. Okay. So what auditor is going to look for? Boundary controls all relating to access to system. So whether those controls are put in place and whether they are working properly or not. So auditor need to determine how well the safeguard assets are used and preserve data integrity. So how controls are working? Are they achieving the objective of safeguarding of assets data integrity? Then determine whether access control mechanism is properly put in place. Careful control. Yes, where suppose there is hardware failure. I about did talk to you about this, my very personal experience on my laptop hanging. So then I had to take a SOS help from my vendor 15, 20 years back. So what response organization have to create? So this has to be documented. Then cryptographic key. Yes. Cryptographic keys, the key please understand these words have come more than once. Definition has to be clear. Okay. So cryptography is converting the normal text to coded text, and cryptographic key management is ensuring that the way the code is generated, that is secured. So how the key is generated, how it is distributed to users, and how they will be installed in cryptographic facilities. That is how it works. And I understand all of you understand the word cryptography. Cryptography is basically creating a code out of system. Okay. So auditor need to understand that which approach has been used to implement access control so that they can predict the likely problems they will encounter in application systems they are evaluating. So that is boundary management. If we have time today, then I'll show you how this cryptography works, just if we have time. Then auditing input controls. Auditor must understand the fundamental. Now, input controls, the correct capturing of data. See, systems are working on GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So your quality of input has a direct relevance to the quality of output that you produce in system. Because once a transaction is captured in system, then it will be tough to improve the quality of input. So lot of effort is done to ensure the quality of capturing of data is correct. Auditors must understand fundamentals of good source document design. Yes, this is phenomenal. And when you go for an audit, when you look to the vouchers, the way data is captured, keep this word in your mind. Okay, next time you go for an audit, just keep this word. Good source document design. It's a fundamental understanding of it creates a fundamental understanding of how systems are operating. So very, very good word. So that auditor analyzes. Auditor must be able to examine data entry screen, how data is being captured, quality of coding systems, how they are working, the approaches to enter data with relevant strength and weaknesses, and whether the files are secured and proper backups are being taken or not. That is input. Then communication. Lot of technicalities in communication, keep as they are. The key word is that auditor needs to ensure that all controls put in place to ensure the risk to communication is reduced. Those controls are there, working effectively, ensuring that the control objectives are achieved or not. Okay, I'll show you, Alok, how it's a very simple example to help us understand what exactly is cryptography. See, sometimes what happens, we have this imagination. Okay, so once you see it visually, then it crystallizes, it creates a good understanding. I'll show. Thank you. Then auditing communication controls. So the core aspect of communication is what? Communication control is that the link to communication, the risk, the line errors, the subversive attacks. So if those risks are there, those threats are there, whether appropriate controls have been put in place first. Second, if controls have been put in place, whether they are working effectively or not. That is what you look for when you're auditing communication controls. So auditor need to collect enough evidence to establish level of assurance for data transmission between two nodes. I'm just giving you with an example, just for understanding. See, in technology, this when you say this between two nodes, so there is a concept that is called as echo check. Just listen to the word. Okay, echo check. What is done in technology? What happens? Suppose sender is sending a message. Like we had someone ask, sender is sending a message, transfer 50,000 to B. Transfer 50,000 to B. So sender sent a message to the cashier of the company. Okay. So sender is, say, manager finance. So he has sent a message, 50,000 to be transferred to B. Now, this manager finance who is going to transfer 50,000 to B. So there has to be a validation that exactly this message was sent. So you can do cryptography and all those things, but still the risk is there that message may change. There may be alteration. So there is a concept of echo check. Echo check means what? The receiver is asked to resend the message to the sender. So whatever message receiver has received, it is sent back to the sender. So suppose sender has sent 50,000, a hacker does a change making it 5 lakh. So the message from sender is 50,000 transferred to B, but the message received by the receiver is 5 lakh to B. So he or she sends the message back to the sender. What is the message? 5 lakh to B. So in sender system, automatically validates the receiver's message. So this is also called as an echo check. So it's a control put in place. Okay. So just for sake of understanding, these are exactly the things which are put in place to ensure communication channel is working properly or not. Then auditor need to look whether adequate network backups and recovery controls are there. I have already talked about that. In a chartered accountant's office, we need to have a second broadband also. Yes, yes, Mohammed, perfect. So what happens when the sender's message is received by receiver, receiver sends the same message as received. So if in between transit and alteration or hacking has been done, it can be tracked. This is one of the ways. There are other ways, but this is also one of the ways, just to create an understanding. Then auditor must assess encryption. Oh, yes, yes. Priyanka, I was waiting. I think I need to give this e-chocolate to Priyanka. Okay, I'll get back what she said. So Priyanka, you receive a e-chocolate for your query. Good. I was waiting for someone to say it. Great. So let us read this and then I'll come to what Priyanka has written. So auditor must assess implementation of encryption. Now again, encryption has come multiple times. Okay. This cryptography, converting it into coded form. Auditor must assess the topological control. This based on the topology of network. Now let us go to Priyanka's question. She said it correctly that, see, suppose if hacker is able to make 50,000 to 5 lakh, when the echo check is done, hacker can again make 5 lakh to 50,000. Yes, it's an accepted risk. That is why, that is why when we started this discussion, we talked about, can we reduce risk to zero? No. Can all controls be foolproof? No. That is why you always have more than one control in place. Agreed. Yes, Alok. Yes, yes, exactly, Karthik. Exactly. Okay. That is how. So I think encryption has come so multiple times. So I'll show you practically how it is. Means an illustration to help you grasp the idea. Uh, no, it is control risk moment, not inherent. Okay. Then auditing processing controls. So auditor should determine whether processing controls means whether the process is being done correctly or not. Control unauthorized activities like gaining access to sensitive data. Auditor should evaluate whether common programming errors that can result in incomplete, inaccurate processing data has been taken care of, taken care or not. Auditor should assess performance of validation controls to check for any data processing errors. Auditor need to check for checkpoints and restart controls. Yeah, this is important. This one I'll tell you with a separate example. Let us summarize the first three. So what may happen during processing? Incorrect captured data suppose is goes into system. So at time of processing, it will be error. There is a chance that some error during processing is there that need to be captured. And validation controls. Validation control means those controls you put at the time of input. Suppose the control has not worked the way it was desired. So this is going to generate at the time of processing. So that is. Now coming to this checkpoint restart procedure. This is a very important topic. See, we talked about this concept of snapshot. I talked about a company with 3 lakh employees and they are processing salary. Now, just imagine that the salary process is going on. 1 lakh employee salary has been processed. 1 lakh employee salary has been processed. System crashes. Now you need to restart salary processing. So ideally, your restart will be what point? Listen to the question. Answer this. 3 lakh employee salary is being processed, system crashes. When it crashes, the salary of 1 lakh employee was being processed and it crashes. Now, when you restart, so restart has to be from where? Employee number 1 or employee number 1 lakh. That is the point. So that concept is what is called as checkpoint or restart point in case of system failure. So I'm expecting you to answer. Restart of the salary process will be from employee number 1 or employee number 1 lakh. That is. Good. Very good. So two different answers. Someone says 1 and someone says 1 lakh. Please understand. Based on the controls you have put in place, the decision will be taken. If you have proper restart procedure controls, then it will be 1 lakh. But if you don't have proper restart control, it will be 1. So which is better? That paragraph is important. Auditor needs to recheck controls for checkpoint and restart. Very, very important. Because if you start from 1, that means you'll be expending more resources and resources cost. That is the point. Then auditing database controls. So database we talked about. Now audit of that. So auditor should check for mechanism if a damaged destroyed database can be restored. So restoration of database is one of the aspect. Proper backup recovery strategy is another aspect in database. Privacy of data is third aspect. Proper documentation implementation is another aspect. And this word comes again. Private public key used under cryptographic control. So we'll take a 5-minute separate topic on this one. Okay. So I'll clear you all these words, private key, public key, cryptography, all I'll clear because it is coming more than once. Okay. Then auditors should address their concerns regarding maintenance of data integrity and the way which file should be processed to prevent integrity violation. And then auditing output controls. So auditors should determine what report programs are sensitive, who all are authorized to access them, and that only authorized persons are able to execute. So output controls, who can access output, who can take action on output, that is part of output controls. Then because topic is changing, so let us talk about this 5 minutes on cryptography and then we'll take this. So today we'll have a slight extension. Okay. Yeah. So today we'll extend the class 10-15 minutes. So I want to show you how this cryptographic control may be working. Now, see, so what I'll be doing, suppose I type this, I see AI. So it's a message that is being sent. But then I want to encrypt this message. So what I'm doing, I'm just doing some logical calculation and then we'll hide that encryption for you. So let me do it out. I'll tell you what I've done so that you understand exactly what is going on. Now, this is my original message. Okay. R is my receiver. So this is what is received by R. And this is what R is reconverted. Now, yes. Yeah. Last session for the chapter. So we'll complete today. Okay. Now, please understand what we have done. I am sending ICAI, but I don't want people to be able to read. So what I do, I encrypt it. So my communication channels doesn't show ICAI, they show NHFN. So my receiver, receiver is receiving NHFN. Now it's an encrypted message. There's a logic built into it. I intentionally read the logic to you. So separately, I have communicated to my receiver that this is the logic. So because the logic is known to the receiver is able to reconvert the message to ICAI. Let us do it different set. Let us see what happens. See, I am saying ABCD, but receiver is getting FGHI and reconverting into ABCD. Yeah. Now, see, this is a very simple example to let you get into those words which are coming again and again. So from A to F, my original message is ABCD. I've converted it to FGHI. This FGHI is what I called as ciphertext or crypto text. Okay. So I've converted. So this coded text, this is not original. Even if someone hacker listens to my communication link, FGHI, he or she will not be able to draw any conclusion because this is not the original text. This becomes what I called as ciphertext. First. Second, ciphertext has to be reconverted to the original text. So to reconvert, the receiver needs to have what is called as the logic. We just read the concept of cryptographic key. What is the key? The key that is used to encrypt and key that is used to decrypt. Those keys are called as cryptographic keys. So if suppose hacker gets the message FGHI and hacker also knows the key 5 which I showed to you. Now let me show you what exactly I did. So every alphabet has a ASCII number, American Standard Code, or code is numerical code is there in all computers. So I generated the code and then added 5 to the code. This code has a character value. So calculated the character value, regenerated the code, reduced 5 and got my original number. This was the mathematical logic. It's very simple, but just to bring the idea to you. So suppose I ask you, what was the cryptographic key? So you have answered +5 was my cryptographic key to this. Okay. So if hacker, just see the highlighted FGHI. If hacker knows the key, then what hacker can regenerate the message. So that is what is cryptographic key. First. Second, more than once in the whole chapter, you saw two words, private key and public key. So just remember the way I am sharing that. Okay. Private key is basically key that is used, that is known to the creator of message. That is, in our case, the original sender. Okay. Public key that will be available publicly. Now, where this public key and private key come from? So I understand that this part you must have read in your syllabus, but just for the sake of it, remember, we talked about digital signature certificate. I refer to section 3 of the Information Technology Act. In digital signature certificate, there is a concept of private key and there is a concept of public key. Private key for DSC is created by owner of DSC, if I own it. Public key of DSC is known to the owner in software form and known to the issuer. You know who issues DSC? CA, certifying authority. Here CA, certifying authority. So this public key is known to certifying authority, and this public key is also known to a authority in Information Technology Act, that is called as controller. That is why it is called as public key. Public key means which is known to public. Private key which is known to the user. That is. Just remember this. Yes. So see, please understand. This example is to crystallize the concept. What is cryptography? How does there could be very complex logics, but only for conceptual understanding. Yes, yes, good. So that is. Then coming to data related concepts. So database models, big data, data warehousing, data mining. So database we've talked about, definition is clear to all of us. So database is collection of data. Database model is basically how the collection is arranged. That is database model, how it is logically structured. Let us see. So we have talked about database, file, table, record, field. So these are the hierarchy of database. So not relevant right now. This is how it may look like. So you have the database as it appears. So field, record, and file. Field is account head, record is account code, account head and group, and whole set is your account file. This is important. Please understand, no, please do not draw any conclusions in terms of beyond the definition I've shared. Okay, because there is much more to this cryptography. There is at least a 1 hour discussion on this concept. Okay, so just remember those 3 words and the examples I gave. Don't go beyond it. I don't know where you are going to learn public key, Piyush. Private key. Okay, Kujama, just don't use whatever words you are learning. Private key is more safe than public key. Based on the definition, that interpretation is correct, but there is much more that is not discussed. So don't carry that interpretation. Okay. Now, types of database, hierarchical, network, relational, object-oriented. Let us take one by one. So hierarchical is basically like your inverted tree structure, you call it. So you have the tree has branches. So here the trunk is there and the branches shoot like that. So it is sometimes also called as a parent-like database. Yeah, great, Mohammed. This is how it looks like. Hierarchical database model. So the key character of hierarchical is inverted tree parent-child relationship network. So it's more, it is a database structure where you have records in set, where in each set is composed of owner record and one or more member record, thus allowing network model to implement many to one and many to many relationship. One corollary I generally draw with network-based model is like your HUF, Hindu undivided family. It has Karta and members you call as co-partners. So exactly this is how this network database model looks like. It has owner record, Karta, member record, co-partners. So you can remember that way. That is. Owner of repair vendor, repair, and members, equipment. So this is how you can create a network database model. Then relational databases. This is important. Relational databases where you create a relationship between two database. Okay. Data tables. So I don't know. You have probably data tables are like Excel sheets, rows and columns. So you link more than one database to create relational database management. So you join them together, logically joining. That is RDBMS. Relations, attributes, and domains. Relation is a table with columns, rows, attribute named columns or relation called as attributes, and domain set of values attributes can take. This is an example. Now, when you join the two data tables, you join it through something called as a primary key. Okay. Which is unique. I'll show you with an example. After definition, I'll show you an example. Yes. Now it's here. We have created. So product code, description, price, product code, description, price. So if you want to identify a common key for defining that data table could be product code. This product code you can link to the next, that is the billing one. So these two data tables can be linked on product code because they are common to both the databases. So when you join based on this data table becomes relational and the product code becomes the primary key. Next is object-oriented database management system. I talked about the word OOPS, object-oriented programming system. So that is part of OODBMS. It is based on the concept that the world can be modeled in terms of objects and their interaction. An object-oriented database provides mechanism to store complex data such as image, audio, video. Object-oriented database is a set of objects. In these databases, the data is modeled and created as objects. So you create objects. Help programmers make objects which are independent functioning application program assigned with. Now see, object-oriented database has some important characters. So let us go to the module and then we'll come to that. So this was the example product key. Now, yeah. So, Pranay, primary key, which is the unique identifier for each table, if primary key of one table is used in another table to access the former, it is called as foreign key for that table. Okay. So the primary for one becomes foreign for the another. That is point. Because you are linking through that key. Then object oriented. Yeah. If we were here. So this is how, let me just, your object oriented system looks like. So you have the job, the definition of the engineer, the structure, the civil jobs, architects, and this is how you define. So here what you have basically defined, objects can be organized by the light rectangle indicates engineer in an object oriented processing attributes like date of birth, address, which is interacting with other objects called as civil jobs. So when a civil job is executed, commenced, it updates the current job attribute of engineer object because civil job sends a message to the later. So objects, they interact with each other. So that updates are done through object oriented database. I'm just giving a different example for understanding. Please understand, suppose, imagine a Mr. A enters a bank. Mr. A has a current account in the bank. Just understand. So Mr. A is entering the bank. He has a current account. Now, imagine the branch managers recalling the entry of Mr. A. So branch manager does not recall the current account has arrived. मिस्टर ए का बैंक में करंट अकाउंट है. जब वो बैंक की ब्रांच में जाते हैं तो ब्रांच मैनेजर कैसे रिकॉल करता है उस इवेंट को कि मिस्टर ए आ गए हैं. ब्रांच मैनेजर ऐसे रिकॉल नहीं करता कि करंट अकाउंट आ गया है. नो, branch manager recalls the event that Mr. A has arrived. Just build that relationship in system. So for the bank, Mr. A becomes what? An object. So object-oriented technology is basically relating to people and places. You build on that. So Mr. A has a current account. So that current account becomes like an attribute to Mr. A. Tomorrow, suppose Mr. A is given Mr. A takes a cash credit loan. So you add additional attribute to Mr. A, cash credit loan. So that is how you create object-oriented technology. Then big data, data warehouse, and data mining. Now, please understand, there are a lot of commonalities to this, so we must not get confused. Big data refers to massively large set of data that conventional database tools do not have processing power to analyze them. Please understand, I think we did this question that suppose you need to give feedback for a fast moving consumer goods company. You can give feedback through multiple locations. Okay. So the merchant, you can give feedback. Google, you can give feedback. Location-based feedback. Instagram, you can give feedback. Facebook, you can give feedback. WhatsApp feedback is there. So there are hundreds of ways of email you can send to the company. So all this information that is all across the internet, and information is saved in all possible formats on internet, to collate that and then try to analyze that process is part of big data. Okay, please understand the intensity of it. So much information lying in so different format at so different location, to bring it together and trying to create an understanding out of that is big data. So that is not possible through traditional database tools. That is the core. Let us look to the benefits. Business can utilize intelligence while taking decision, better service, and better operational efficiency. Because what this example I've shared perfectly fits in the benefits. Customer response. So how customer has responded to the product, you can collate that information and use it for your own business positive action. Then data warehouse. As organizations have begun to utilize database as centerpiece for their operation, the need to fully understand and leverage the data they are collecting has become more and more apparent. From these needs arose the concept of data warehouse. The concept of data warehouse is simple. Extract data from one or more organizations' database, load it into data warehouse for storage analysis. This is called as ETL, extraction, transformation, loading. So many data, like we talked about Facebook creating a huge data center at in a Arctic Ocean country, Greenland. So that data becomes data warehouse. Then you do ETL, extraction, transformation, loading for your decision making. That is data warehouse. So first extraction, then transformation, then loading for analysis. Then it can have non-operational standardized data. So you have to ensure that whatever data is there, it has to be created in a standard format for comparison. To design constellation top down bottom up, that depends basically how you go about, depends on the why of the data warehouse, why it has been created. Benefits: developing a data warehouse forces organization to better understand data that is currently being collected, also that is not being collected. Data warehouse provides centralized view of all data. Once data is identified as consistent, an organization can generate one version of the truth. By having data warehouse, snapshot of data can be taken over time. This creates historical record. Data warehouse provide tools to combine data, which can provide new and better analysis. And the last is data mining. From this huge bulk of data, you mine data, you bring data as per your information, as per your requirement is data mining. One example that I talked about was that of the 7 lakh or 8 lakh students database which our institute has, suppose it decides to take out the data of those students who have taken more than one attempt to pass any CA examination, that will be referred to as data mining. Replicated server is a duplicated server, double, additional. Pranay, not exactly, but just keep a remembrance of it, because the sourcing is different, but you can just keep a tag of it like that. Then steps of data mining: integration, selection, cleaning, and transformation. Mining of it for pattern evaluation and decision for discovered knowledge. So data integration, data selection, cleaning, transformation, mining, knowledge presentation, and based on that taking decision. These are the steps of data mining. Now these differences are given between database, data warehouse, and data mining. They're directly from the module. You can just keep a tag of it. Database, real-time information; database, data warehouse, real-time historical. Data mining, this analyzes data to find previously unknown trends. So data mining is also on historical data. Okay. Then organization structure and responsibilities. So big organization, lot of detailing is there. In fact, there is a very good chart in the module. So I'll bring that chart. So how you create an organizational structure. So you create an organizational structure based on the need, short-term, long-term objectives, market conditions, regulations, availability of talent. So this allows organization to create an organization structure. Based on that, you create roles and responsibilities. And now, so first is the core definitions: executive management, software development, data management, network management, system management, general operations, security, and service desk. So this is a general definition of what lateral functions you can create in an organization. Within executive management, you can have chief information officer, chief technology, chief security officer, chief information security officer, chief personal officer. Details from module. Let us see. So I'll just take one. Chief Privacy Officer. Okay. So this is how you define their function. So what you need to remember is the name and the function he or she is performing. This will take from the slide itself. So names are good indicator of the functions and their responsibilities. Then software development, you have system architect, system analyst, developers, programmers, software testers. So this is system development control. This is program development control. We talked about in the previous topic. Data management, database architect, DBA and DA. So their definitions, their job responsibility, that you have to just keep a tag of them. Network architect, network engineer, network administrator, and telecom engineer. So this titles you can create. Please understand, all the titles, all the descriptions are general. Organization based on their requirement can create more or less, but this creates a general understanding. System architect, system engineers, storage engineers, system admins. General operations, operations manager, analyst, control analyst, system operator, data entry operator, and media library. Security architect, engineer, analyst, user account manager, and security auditors. Organization may have a separate designation for auditors for security. Service desk, help desk, technical support. Last topic, segregation of duties. We have already taken lot of discussion on SOD. So the core idea is that there must not be overlapping function. Preventive detective control should be put in place to manage segregation of duties properly. The examples we've taken a lot. You can review from the module itself. Okay. So that is for the day. Any questions you have? Let me refresh my screen. Yeah. Okay. So that is chapter 3. Thank you. A very good interaction. So we will close chapter 3 and then we'll meet day after for starting a new chapter, that is chapter 4. Thank you. Good night. We are closing.